If someone gave you $1 million and told you to forget your mother tongue, will you be able to do it? Before you go for that hard no, check out these two examples I have for you. Katrina Kaif, famous Bollywood actress, been in the industry for 20 years, starting with Boom in 2003 all the way up to Tiger 3 in 2023. You think in 20 years she would have picked up Hindi and forgotten her British English. But she hasn't, quite the opposite. Her British English is as strong as ever, and her Hindi is as shaky as ever. We can hardly tell the difference between Katrina Kaif of 2023 to now, not only in how gorgeous she continues to be, but how impossible it is to change and upgrade her language skills. And I'm sure she has the best tutors in the world for that. And she's always surrounded by people speaking either Hindi or Indian English at best. And still, she has not unlearned one thing. Now look at me, yours truly. I've been in the US for 10 years, and in those 10 years, I hardly got anybody to speak my mother tongue with. I was always speaking in English everywhere. I even picked up a transitional accent, which is influenced by the American accent. But then, did I forget my regional language? No, but there is a but. I did not forget my mother tongue, but one major shift happened. I started thinking in English. English became my first response. It toppled over my mother tongue and became my first language for all practical reasons and purposes. This video is not about language, but these examples hold clues to how we learn and unlearn. Now, when we are children, we do not have a choice. What we are taught, we learn what we learn from absorbing what we see. But once we become adults, we have a choice. We can sit down, reflect, and figure out what we want to unlearn and learn. So, what are these things that we can look at unlearning? We are going to break it down with examples in this video. And if you want to join in for the ride, do subscribe to this channel. My name is Rai. I'm a former media presenter and director. And out here, I break down all those attributes that make us the person we are, make us our own brand. And unlearning is a major step in the making of who we are going to be tomorrow. Our 2.0 version. In our childhood, we all have experienced this one phenomenon of constant branding and labeling. This person is dumb, that person is selfish, that person is not good, that person is bad. In fact, one of the biggest films in Bollywood is called Three Idiots. We are so quick to judge and label, and those labels stick. But once we grow up, we need to look beyond labels. That's why when we see something or meet someone, we instantly start labeling them. Those words are always at the tip of our tongue. But that is one of the things we can unlearn. We can unlearn calling people names. We can unlearn labeling people and just have arguments that has arguments and not labels. It's an important thing to unlearn because the more we are using social media, the more we are tending to box people, brand people, label people. When we run out of arguments, what do? Our usual response is to just label the person something and check out of that conversation. Another conditioning we develop as a child is idolizing certain people, either historic figures or religious figures, or even certain members in the family and society. We consider them worthy of worship and absolutely perfect. But when you grow up, you have the responsibility of finding out who they are in totality and see them for who they are with realistic lenses. Mahatma Gandhi, known to be the father of the nation because his contribution to nonviolent movement. And while I admire him and I'm in awe of him, of how he was able to conceptualize something and bring it to the masses, as an adult, I have to recognize that there are parts of his personality that is outright creepy. And I get to call them out without feeling guilty. You too might be having some guru, some prophet, some messiah that you look up to, and you do not want to see their flaws. You feel like it's your responsibility to cover up their bad behavior, to make excuses for things they have done wrong. You can finally unlearn idolizing them and free yourself from that responsibility. Now, one easier thing to unlearn is to unlearn your food habits. If you're used to eating spicy food, if you're used to eating oily food, if you're used to a non-balanced diet, which is very low in protein, you do not have to continue that. If you've been told this is the only type of meat you can eat, this is the only type of vegetable you can eat, it's time to grow up, study nutrition, and figure out what is good for you in the long run, good for the human race in the long run, and good for coexistence in the long run. You have to factor in all these things once you are an adult and not just think, what does my family eat? Somebody told me something very interesting about Indian food. While I would 100% vote that Indian food is the tastiest food in the world, I will also admit that despite all the flavor, it actually lacks taste. What I mean is, when you eat a cauliflower curry, you hardly get to taste the cauliflower. You don't know if the cauliflower is sweet. You don't know if the cauliflower is fresh. The actual taste and essence of cauliflower is kind of lost. But today, as an adult, I have the right and the ability to grow out of any recipe that I've been taught and adopt any new recipe I want. So I don't get to sit and complain. I actually have the luxury to make any kind of change I want to my diet. But I think the number one thing we need to unlearn is learning to say no. When you grow up in a society that constantly teaches you respect, manners, obedience, it's hard to say no, either out of politeness or out of some kind of fear. But the other day, I was seeing this Shreya Ghoshal interview, who's a very famous playback singer in Hindi cinema. She was talking about this dance track, Chikni Chameli, which was a big, huge hit for her career. But ever since then, she's become really conscious about taking in songs that objectifies women too much. She said she's really not comfortable in saying those words in the way they have to be said. What does that mean? It means she can do a job better than anybody else. She can earn massive amount of money from it. And still she was able to say no because she was not comfortable with it. She has unlearned to say yes. So one of the best things we can do for ourselves is unlearning the habit of saying yes. I've also watched this hilarious interview where one of the stars of Harry Potter was so humble that he would always say yes to his fans. So his fans said, give an autograph, yes. Take a picture with me, yes. But it went to such an extreme that he would end up visiting people's houses. I hope he finally unlearned that habit of saying yes for his own safety and sanity. I hope this video helped. If it did, please do like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.